Four Midwest Guys presents...
It's a groovy time for a movie time. So grab your gap and grab a seat. But don't forget to get something to eat. Delicious meat and nutritious meat.
You can't beat my meat for a special treat. Sucking on me is really neat.
Don't be a jerk and don't be a fool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Four Midwest Guys presents the top 10 best movies of 2017. I am known as the Dirty Jay-Z, and here with me today is Mr. Brian Ankenbauer.
What's up, what's up?
And our podcast host and father figure, Mr. Brian Willenbrink.
What's going on?
All right, so before we get started with our episode, Brink, would you like to tell us about the social media stuff?
So, before we begin, we just want to let you know where can you find Four Midwest Guys. Well, it's real simple. The one-stop shop is the www.4midwestguys.com. Again, the 4midwestguys.com. One more time, 4midwestguys.com. There you can find links to our Podbean, to our Twitter, to our iTunes, to just about everything. I am a little behind on the Podbean end of getting the audio, but right now the YouTube is the best place to find us as far as our most updated videos. But I am working. I always keep the website up to date. However, the blog and everything else, it's all right there, 4midwestguys.com. You can also find us on Twitter at 4midwestguys. You can find Mr. Ankenbauer at AnkZone. You can find me at BWillie1977. And Brian, I know we got a new thing kicking. You've got, Instagram?
Yeah,
now?
Instagram at _real_Ank. We have like behind the scenes pictures and stuff up there right now.
So yeah, check that out. It's something new we're starting, so make sure you check that out. All right, with that said, Johnny, it's your show to run.
All right, so today we are talking about our 10 best movies of the year. Mr. Willenbrink here will give us his top 5 of the year.
Only 5.
He actually has a life, and
Married to the job.
So I get a chance to actually, waste my time watching a bunch of movies. So I figured I would put together my list of what I considered the 10 best movies of 2017, and I'm going to kick off my number 10 pick of the year with I, Tonya, the movie with Margot Robbie starring as Tonya Harding, the movie about essentially Tonya Harding and what was known as The Incident. It's kind of a fascinating take. It's kind of like a part pseudo-documentary, part biopic, and what's neat about it is it actually kind of portrays the skater in a light that I don't think a lot of people really considered about her before, like how much of kind of like a tortured artist she was, that she kind of rebelled against the system that, the skating league wanted all their skaters to be like, and it was kind of a fascinating movie to watch, and just Margot Robbie just really nails the performance, and Allison Janney's incredible as her mother too. So that is my pick as the number 10 film of the year. Mr. Ankenbauer, what's yours?
Funny enough, because we didn't share our list ahead of time, my number 10 is I, Tonya.
Wow.
So,
Good choice.
Yeah, for the same reasons that you picked. I mean, I also like the fact that they broke the fourth wall there, where she looked at the camera and she talked. There was some comedic stuff in there, stuff that we knew from what happened, what she talked about. I did like the fact that they portrayed her not to be the complete monster that the news media, portrayed her as, and they did it. It was a different view to see, like you said, a troubled artist she was, and I really enjoyed the movie.
Cool. So moving on with our list, I'm going to go to number 9, which is Edgar Wright's Baby Driver. This was a movie I just had a shit ton of fun watching this movie. It's a bank heist movie. It's a car chase movie. It's hyper stylized reality, and just every moment on that film just gave me so much joy watching it. Like, the camera movement is phenomenal. The action sequences are probably some of the best you've seen in a movie theater in years. Like, the way they choreograph the scenes to music, nothing like this has ever been done before. It's really exciting to watch, and it's my pick for the 9th best movie of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that movie. I like the way the soundtrack interacted with the scenes and how he was, he would beat his finger to the music. It was very well done. I really liked that movie. My number 9, I know probably not going to be on yours, but it's Happy Death Day.
I actually really want to see that movie.
Oh my
Like,
God,
I've heard
it
a lot of
does
good
look
stuff about
interesting.
It was so good. It was one of those like Scream meets like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I mean, it knew it wasn't like a horror movie, and it knew it was like a spoof movie almost. And
Yeah.
the whole time it was just you were watching it, and there was so many twists in it, and you're like, oh crap! And you would think the movie was over, and then it wouldn't be. I mean, it was just the whole time. You're like,
Now, does it have like a campy feel, kind of like Buffy, or is it something else, like completely different?
I wouldn't say it has a campy feel to it, but it definitely has that you can tell you're on a campus, and it plays into a lot of stereotypes.
Yeah.
But
That's what I heard about the movie. That's actually what interested me in seeing it the most. Because when I saw the trailer, I was like, have these people not seen Groundhog Day? Like I thought it was just, oh, what the hell is this? And then someone said, yeah, these people are really aware it's like Groundhog Day. They reference it. I was like, okay, this is a very self-realized movie. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I like horror, and
I'm not even a horror fan, and it made my top 10 list. So I mean,
It sounds interesting.
as we go up my list, you're going to see how much of a horror fan I am. So, all right, moving on to my number 8 film, not a horror film, but does involve the dead, and that is Pixar's Coco. It is an amazingly animated film. The story that it takes you on, the world that it takes you to with the land of the dead, the music, the story about the boy wanting to play music, wanting to learn about his heritage, wanting to learn about his great-grandfather, connecting with his family. All of it was just so beautifully done. It's the kind of Pixar that we grew up with like, Toy Story 2 and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, that like watching these movies and discovering them was just so much fun, and just it not only made you feel like you were watching something that was good for everyone around you, but just it didn't ever once talk down to its audience. It was mature, it was fun, it was intelligent, and incredibly emotional too. It's my 8th best of the year.
Speaking of mature, how did they handle the whole death thing? Because you got kids, and does it handle it in a way a kid can
Very
understand
well.
it?
Like, surprisingly, when I watched it, we watched it with my 3-year-old,
Okay.
and it kept her attention, and she has no attention for a full-length movie.
Mm-hmm.
And as a funny note, by the time it gets to the end, and I'll say it, it's our first movie that we've seen her cry at.
Oh, really?
Like, she cried. And
Was
it's
she like physically upset, or was
no,
it
like
just?
you just see her like just wiping her eyes,
Oh.
like she's never seen people crying, but she just like started wiping her eyes at the end. It's really well done.
That was the only thing that concerned me as a parent, is because they're kind of dealing with, death.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They deal with it really well.
really well. Okay.
Funny thing too is apparently in China, like nothing about the supernatural or
Yeah, and the thing about it is allowed.
ghosts or anything like that is allowed in the theater. Coco got released in China because they actually, they convinced them this isn't a movie about the dead, about the undead. It's about celebrating our
With
ancestors.
family and tradition.
That's kind of how they handle it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, I recommend it. I really recommend it.
Since we're only going with movies that we've seen, my number 8 was The Big Sick.
You mentioned that. I still want to see that movie.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen that one either.
and it's basically it's not a documentary, but it does follow the life of what is his name?
The guy from Silicon Valley.
Yes, the guy from Silicon Valley. It follows him and how he comes into be, where like the actor he is, how he started out, and everything else. I mean, the movie was really good through the whole thing, and just watching his trials and stuff that he puts himself through, and the situations that arise being from being a foreigner and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really, really well put together movie.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I remember when we were talking about it, you mentioned it as one of the movies we needed to watch, to kind of talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling you, hey, I think this might be up for a couple Oscars. He's like, really? I was like, and it's actually up for Best Original Screenplay right now.
Yeah.
So the actor playing himself is now nominated for writing the screenplay for his movie.
I mean, what'd you like best about it? I guess, did anything in particular that stood out, or just overall?
Well, no, I really like him on Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
So watching it, he plays himself really well. but I mean, it is really funny to watch, and you can actually see. I'm sure this is all like true stuff. or a little bit exaggerated from what actually happened.
Yeah.
But you can really see some of this stuff happening, especially in the day and age where it's like,
See him in that
You know,
It was
situation.
almost like a personal
yeah,
take.
yeah, him getting heckled, or some of the other scenes that happened. It really felt like I was actually watching. I didn't feel like I was watching a movie. More so as I was watching a behind the scenes of his life. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So how did they handle like the whole story with his wife getting sick and everything, and tie it in with like both the families?
So it was really strange. They kept everything separate, and so like they didn't even know about each other until she did get sick.
Oh
and,
wow!
And he was only there because he was only there because her friend couldn't get to the hospital and they needed somebody to be there, so he ended up being there. And this whole thing transpires, and then his feelings for her while she's in a coma, and it was really kind of neat to watch.
Cool.
It's
Sounds
on-
really interesting.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's really one that on
Yeah.
my list of movies I really want to see.
Yeah, I would go into more detail. I don't
Yeah,
wanna
no
give anything-
spoilers.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to give anything away because
Yeah.
there was some pretty cool scenes. You're like, I've never thought about that from that other side before.
Like a twisted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to movies that have really amazing scenes. My number 7 on my 10 best of the year is Blade Runner 2049. I am a huge Blade Runner fan. Like, I grew up with the movie. I loved studying the universe. I loved like watching. I've seen the theatrical cut. I've seen the international cut. I've seen the director's cut. I've seen the final cut. I've seen. I can tell you like every different thing that's taken place in all 4 of the cuts. I love everything about it. I love the themes. I love the style. I love the design of it. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So the bar was incredibly high for a movie that, like, 35 years down the line had a sequel.
Right.
As like, because normally, by all rights, those movies should not succeed at all.
And it didn't.
But
Well,
this
yeah.
movie, what it does is it feels like that universe has aged 35 years. Like, you actually feel a sense of not just the age of the world, but like the progression and like the story's matured, and it's a wonderful companion piece to the movie that I think, when I came out of it, I wondered, is it going to be as timeless as the original was? And I think it might actually hold up. I think it's going to be a really well, looked back on film.
Yeah, I had a hard time with the original. I'll be honest. I've seen bits and pieces of the original, and
Repeat viewings, that's what helps it.
yes, I know, and I need to actually sit down and watch this and the sequel. That's why I didn't watch this one yet, because I still need to get through the first one. How is Harrison Ford? I guess is he
He
still
was good. I mean, he was really good in it. And I'll say this: if you haven't seen the original and you go straight into this one, it will ruin a lot of stuff that was mysterious in the original.
Textile? Yeah.
Yeah, so watch the original. So if you want to watch
Right.
more of the mystery of some of the characters in there, but no, Harrison Ford does really good. The whole cast is good, and surprisingly, like, as you know, my wife, she hates Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
She said this is only one of 2 movies she's liked him in.
Really.
Like, she actually enjoyed a Ryan Gosling movie. But he does good. The cast is good. It's a really well-made story. I really recommend seeing Blade Runner. I'm glad I got to see it on the big screen before it got completely overlooked.
Gotcha. All right. Cool.
All right, so you're number 7?
My
Mr.
number
A?
7 is the Will Smith Netflix movie, Bright.
Bright.
Bright. Not so much for its like certain scenes in it, but the fact of creating a whole new world, like bringing the orcs in with in today's world.
Elves.
Yeah, so you're not looking at Middle Earth or anything like that. You're actually looking at what would it be like if they were here today, and I thought that was really awesome. And it's a great stepping point because they had already set up the sequel before the first one even released on Netflix,
Right.
and so you knew that it was creating a world that they could expand on, and there's a bunch of different avenues that they can take. They don't just have to follow
The
Will Smith's
storyline,
character. Yeah, there's other ones they can do. So that's why I put it in my number 7.
Yeah, it's definitely a groundbreaking movie. When I watched it, you can see the potential. The story itself in the movie,
Yeah,
but
It's a first draft.
But
when I saw it,
yeah,
it really felt like a first draft.
it is. It is, and then they're kind of dropping you in the middle of everything, kind of like Star Wars did. The original Star Wars, it drops you right in the middle of the whole story. So I kind of get that feel from it too,
At least
because
Star Wars was more fun.
you don't. The whole beginning of the movie shows you visually the history of what's happened if you watch the beginning, but it tells you nothing about they actually really don't explain a lot. You have to really pay attention in that movie to pick up on the history of what's happening in the Dark Lord and blah 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 and everything else, and the mythology and how it took place and how the orcs. Well, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but so yeah, it's I can see why you picked that one, just for groundbreaking and starting a whole new world. Like it's literally like Harry Potter breaking new ground kind of thing.
Definitely not anywhere near my list. Actually,
it didn't make any of my list either, but I can see why Brian picked it.
I think it would be closer towards another list if we're gonna pick something. I thought it. I mean, there was so much stuff in that was way more serious than it needed to be.
Well,
it was a lot of the problems that it's the David Ayer style. It's the style that I had issues with Suicide Squad that I kind of have here.
Okay, yeah, I can see what you're saying, and it felt like the good guys were completely overwhelmed from beginning to end, start to finish.
Not so much that as it is just it's not fun. It's not. I mean, I thought
it was fun. I was entertained. I mean,
okay, when you say Star Wars,
I had problems with the flow of it.
Okay, when you're talking about a magic wand, and you're saying the word magic wand like you're saying atom bomb.
But it is.
But it's just, to us, to an audience,
sure,
resonates something different.
They should have shown the power of the wand maybe a little bit more than they did.
Or give it a better name.
It doesn't.
You don't need to say magic wand. Magic wand sounds like what you played with on, an elementary school playground.
But in their world, I guess I just saw it from their point of view. What would it be like if orcs and elves and fairies and dwarves all existed in our world today?
The thing is it's Alienation. I've seen Alienation though, and it is,
but it isn't though.
It really is.
It's Alienation from the cop. You got the alien and you got the cop, and from that point of view, yes, like but that's where it ends.
But it's like a sci-fi world impeding on a buddy cop story. But in this case, instead of sci-fi, it's fantasy. But with this respect, there's so much shit that goes on in that movie. Like oh my god, okay.
Remember, we gotta try to keep the spoilers to a minimum.
I'm gonna keep the spoilers to a minimum. The thing that bugs me the most is someone really needs to give this writer a book of how metaphors work. If you want to tell a story about racism and classism and all this other stuff that he's trying to do with his story, he did not accomplish it well. It's like, right. If you want to tell a story about, like, he used the orcs as a metaphor for essentially Muslims. I mean, talking about not eating cow. It's a very clear metaphor of Muslims. Why not just have that? I mean, it's like, it's one of those things, like, I understand it. Why are you using this as a metaphor? It's just when you...
Well, they're trying to tell the story of a class. It's more about classes and races and how the elves are the upper class, the humans are the middle class, the orcs are the lower class in society, and how they function and how they misinterpret each other and how they misunderstand each other, just kind of like we do. And that's how I took it. But,
there's ways to use metaphors.
Yeah, and granted, I agree that he had a lot going on in that movie, probably too much for the first movie, to be honest, and he got lost in the muck somewhere. I
would be interested to see how a different director takes it.
Yeah, I would be. I don't have a problem with that at all. But yeah, from a world building standpoint, good call, B. I like your pick. So. Wait, all right, John. What's next?
We're moving up to our number 6. Sorry, that got a little.
No. That's why we have these
number 6 on my list is Lady Bird, the Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf movie about a California teenage girl in her senior year of high school that, honestly, I heard was really good. It had like a really solid score, and I was like, okay, this could be interesting. But I don't think I was ready for the emotional ride that it took me on. Like, it's just you really got into the shoes of this character, and you got into just kind of like what it felt like being this girl, experiencing so much stuff for the first time, wanting to go to college, not wanting to be like her mother, getting ready for prom, the boyfriends. But it handles it in such a mature and interesting and unique way that it feels so much more identifiable. Like, when we were talking about classism, there's not one moment in this film where you don't feel this girl being weighed down by her place in society, like being in the essentially really lower middle class.
So the poster I saw, and Grant, I know nothing about this movie other than the poster I saw, but the poster I saw almost made it look like it was a Queen Elizabeth movie, like the way
She
she's
goes to a
painted.
Catholic high school.
Okay, so that's the connection.
Yeah, that's the connection. She goes to a
Okay.
Catholic high school,
Uh-huh.
and this is pretty funny. Like, her and her best friend are shooting the shit while eating communion wafers in the rec room. And this girl comes in, she's like, "You can't eat those. That's the Eucharist." She's like, "They haven't been blessed. It's not the real thing. It's like crackers."
I can't say nothing as a former altar boy. I do not admit, nor do I deny, under any circumstances, ever doing such a thing.
So that's my pick for number 6.
My number 6 was Logan.
Very good movie.
Yeah.
That was this close to making my top 10.
Yeah, it was definitely like groundbreaking as far as a comic book movie goes.
Absolutely.
We had never seen something with that depth without
That
like
dark.
yeah,
gritty.
We had never seen anything without what felt like basically superheroes.
Yeah.
Because it was we did have a little bit in there, but it wasn't anything over the top with like how we had with the X-Men, and watching Hugh Jackman just portray this character at his end,
Yes.
as opposed to like watching him do fight scenes and everything else, and
Yeah.
watching how he,
Old man Logan.
how he worked through all that stuff. I mean, it was really good.
It was
It was it was excellent. I'll just go ahead and reveal that's my number 3 overall. I love that movie. I love even Patrick Stewart's portrayal of Professor X.
At
The very end of his life, a senile, the man who has all the greatest mind powers in the world, and yet he's losing his mind.
Alzheimer's,
Yes,
yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's such a good twist to give him.
it's just amazing. I mean, drama, action. You have enough of the superhero aspect in there.
And the ending.
The New Mutants, and the ending, which actually ties into the previous movie, him
Oh my
holding
God,
his heart in his hand.
How it ties into the Wolverine
It was
is so good.
It's the Wolverine movie we've always wanted. Unfortunately, it's the end. If we had had
That's
some,
perfect. Yeah.
it is perfect, but it's kind of like, no, we finally got it, and he's okay, not giving anything away, but it's like, God. But yeah, it just adds another layer to it, and makes you just, wow, what finally.
Two interesting things I want
Rated
to bring up
R
about that.
superhero.
Yes, finally,
Yeah.
a rated R Wolverine film.
Yeah.
The one thing I love about this, the way they pitched it to both critics and the Academy, they didn't pitch it as a superhero movie. They actually pitched it as a Western.
It definitely has a Western feel.
I mean,
like an
you were saying,
urban,
like there's no heroes.
urban Western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's living in the shadows of heroes, much like a lot of the grittier westerns, like Unforgiven was like. And the second thing is, as I mentioned before about the Academy Awards, Logan is the first superhero movie to be nominated in a top tier category. It's nominated for adapted screenplay this year.
I hope it
And
wins.
it's-
It deserves everything it gets. That's
It's
just
gonna be
my
an uphill
opinion.
battle, but it's
Yeah.
it's at least breaking ground in that respect. So
Yeah.
it's finally getting some good recognition.
Okay.
All right, so I guess that brings us to our top 5. So
Woo!
let's let Mr. Willenbrink start us off here
All
with his
right.
number 5 best movie of 2017.
My number 5 is a very interesting movie. It is a movie that will actually appear again on our next podcast, the top 10 worst movies, which is actually my top 5 worst. But and it's debuting at number 5 on both lists, and that movie is Three Billboards in Missouri.
Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yes.
I am going to be very interested to talk to you in our next podcast.
Because then
it might appear higher in my list.
Here is the reason. Here's the only reason. I thought the acting superb. Couldn't have gotten much better. The lead actress, I don't even know their names because I just watched it last night.
Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand. Is it holy shit? Amazing, outstanding. Woody Allen, maybe one of his best performances.
Harrelson,
Woody Allen.
No,
Woody
not
Allen.
Woody Allen. Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, maybe one of his best
What about
performances.
Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell, amazing, outstanding. The whole entire cast, outstanding. I loved the acting. Just for the acting, that's why it made my top 5. I'll reserve the worst for a reason, and it's probably pretty obvious if I'm making a big deal about the acting why I didn't like the movie overall. Was story. I'll just give it away, but we'll get to that in the worst. But the acting, supreme act. If you just want to see pure drama acting at its very best, this is probably worth seeing just to see the acting. Even if you like the story or don't like the story, you can have a completely different opinion than I did of the story. But the acting, amazing. It deserves to be in the. I don't know about best picture, but definitely
Oh, it's up there. It's
Best
up for
Actress,
7.
yeah.
Actress, 2 supporting actors. Actually, Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell are both up
They
for supporting actors.
yeah, Sam Rockwell does talk about that he may be
that's a
he may
character arc right
he
there.
may be the steel show or the
He's winning.
the show
I
stealer
guarantee he's
of
gonna
the
win.
yeah.
Both him and Francis are going to win.
Yeah, they're amazing acting. Couldn't get any better acting. It's just that damn story. But we'll talk about that in the next podcast.
I will definitely talk about that with
I'm
you.
sure we will. So,
All right, Hank Barry, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh God, I want to see that so bad.
I have not
love
seen that yet.
series.
Another finish to a movie franchise. God, we saw so many of those movie franchises come to the end this past year, and this was another one that was right up there. And Woody Harrelson's in it, and he's awesome in it. And
It's a banner year for Mr. Woody Harrelson.
yeah,
It is.
and whatchamacallit playing Caesar, what's his name?
Andy Serkis.
Andy
Yeah.
Serkis plays him so well, and the way they grab his facial expressions and put it in there is just amazing to watch. I've loved this entire series, and this might be my favorite one out of all of them. Maybe not. I really like the first one.
First one's really good.
The second one was, but this one was really good.
I enjoyed the second one too. Like this
I liked
is
them
a
all.
series. Yeah,
I liked them
love
all.
The series.
I liked them all, but this one might have. It's up there for me, and that's why I have it at number 5.
Cool. All right, my number 5 best of the year is Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, the story about the soldiers trying to escape from the beach during the Battle of Dunkirk. This to me is the perfect director's movie. Like this is if you ever want to watch like Christopher Nolan's vision, because a lot of the times a lot of his criticisms have been his stories get way too symbolic, his subtext gets right on the head, like he lets his dialogue get in the way. This is a movie where the dialogue is so minimal, and it's simply a story about soldiers trying to get home and just trying to get off a beach and trying to find some sense of hope. And what another amazing thing about this movie is they're essentially surrounded by German army. Not once do you see the face of a German soldier in the film.
it's all about the drama.
But you feel the presence. You never once don't feel that presence surrounding them. It's a brilliant vision, 3 separate stories told, and again, it does Nolan's great thing, like how he loves to fuck with linear time structures and stories like Memento. He does that here. It's an amazing experience to watch. I got to see it on the IMAX screen. This is a guy that, when you go to see something on IMAX, a lot of times the movies you're watching aren't shot on IMAX cameras. They're just blown up into the format. This man will take the 80-pound camera, will mount it to the side of a warplane that there's only 20 left in existence.
Yeah.
He'll send it right up in the sky, and he'll have aerial dogfights in IMAX cameras that are just a beautiful thing to watch on the big screen. He's one of our just greatest showmans out there. I can't sing
I
enough
never
praises
saw
about
it.
Because
Dunkirk.
I haven't seen it yet. It's definitely on my list, and it's something me and my friend even wants to sit down together and watch it together. But
Get some good surround sound, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be cranking the surround sound, especially. I love war movies. I'm a big war movie guy. I will say though, I heard there were some negatives that came out of this. Some people weren't real crazy about it, so it's kind of why I didn't see it in the theater. I held off, but
Sure.
I heard it wasn't as good as Saving Private Ryan or.
Well, that's the thing is if you
Yeah.
look at it to say, oh, are you like Saving Private Ryan? You're missing the movie itself.
Okay.
So if you try to go into a movie and try to compare it to something else, I mean, unless the movie's completely aware of the other film it's trying to be, Bright was very aware of both, I would say unaware of Alien Nation, but aware of Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But Dunkirk is a movie that it can exist in the same world of Private Ryan without trying to be like Private Ryan.
Okay.
I mean, this is a movie that when it gets to the end, it hits home exactly why this movie exists, and the message that it brings across in that ending is incredible.
Would you say it's comparable then to maybe Have you seen Band of Brothers?
Oh yeah, I've seen Band of Brothers.
The Pacific
This is,
kind of thing.
It's really doing its
I don't
own
watch war
thing.
movies.
This is really doing its own thing.
Because
I'll
I
say that.
love the Pacific. I love Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers may be the best series ever. But
If you go into this movie
war
looking,
movie-wise.
if you go into this movie looking for it to be like another movie, I can see why they would have negatives.
Okay.
But if you go into it knowing Christopher Nolan, knowing what he directs, knowing his style, and just knowing that this is a British guy wanting to tell a very important British story about their history, something that, you know, a lot of American audiences may not be terribly familiar with the story,
Right.
but over in England, they're incredibly familiar with
Sure,
it
yeah.
because it's one of their senses of like they lost a battle.
It's
and
the great escape for them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that kind of story that needed to be told.
Cool.
So
Very cool.
I cannot recommend it.
I
enough.
can't wait to see it. Honestly, I really can't. So excellent. All right. Cool.
All right, so I want to toss it back to you for your number 4.
Yeah,
Best of the
actually,
year.
my number 4 is actually a documentary. One that I found last night as well as I was prepping for this, and a friend of mine recommended it, and it is actually Jim and Andy: The Great Beyond. It is an actual.
Oh, I heard about this one.
Yeah, so this is about they did this all this behind the scenes footage when he was doing Man in the Moon. Mm-hmm. You know, when Andy Kaufman playing his alternate ego Tony Crafton. So they did all this behind the scenes footage, and what I thought it was going to be was just about that. Mm-hmm. Turns out it's not. It's the story of not only him doing that and them showing that scenes, but then the whole time they're interviewing Jim Carrey in the now, and it's like a story of Jim Carrey's life. Almost it's like it almost mirrors his own life, and it gives his own ideas and his own views and all the shit he's going through. It's incredible. It's a really well done documentary. I'm not a big documentary guy outside of war documentaries, but this is a really well done documentary. It is surprising. It is good. It is very good. It does give you it gives you the full story of Andy Kaufman and who he was and his alter ego Tony Clifton. Sorry, and it's just really well done, and it's on Netflix. So go watch it right now.
Cool.
Just cue it up if you got it's about 2 hours.
That's one I was really interested to see.
It is very interesting. It is entertaining, and just for the sheer surprise factor for me, because I was like, oh, okay, I'll just watch this, kind of fall asleep. No, that didn't happen. I literally, I was like glued. I was like, well, what's going to happen next? It's for a documentary. It is very well done. It is a documentary, so it does have that, that pacing of a documentary, but it's not like watching a real movie, but it's very interesting to see. And it's very interesting because you dive into Mr. Jim Carrey's mind, really, and how it affects his life and everything else, and how he pulled off Andy Kaufman, and how he stayed in character, and the whole time, the whole day, they'll drive home. He goes to they do this funny thing at the Playboy Mansion. I won't give anything away. All the outside behind the scenes stuff of the movie. So you get the behind the scenes of Man in the Moon, but you're also learning about Jim Carrey at the same time.
I was one of the only people that actually saw that in the theater when it first came out. I was excited to see it because I saw just like how much he put himself into that performance.
Yeah, he really did.
When I saw the trailer for that, did you get a lot of the craft that he put in? Because he's someone who's always fought a lot. Like when he first started his career, he was always they just think of him as a slapstick comedian, and he tried to break out the year before with the Truman Show. Mm-hmm. Didn't get an Oscar nomination. Yeah. He tried again to be taken seriously in this one too. So.
It's like he gets lost. It's like Jim Carrey gets lost in the character, and then even he says he was supposed to do. There was the REM music video they did for the
Great Beyond.
Yeah, The Great Beyond, and they wanted him in it, and they wanted him to play Andy in it, and it was after he was done filming it, and he said no, he couldn't do it because he was trying to figure out who the hell he was again. He got lost in the character. He did that much research, and he talks about how I don't want to give a lot away, but Andy Kaufman's family shows up, and it's like they're talking to Jim Carrey, but it's not Jim Carrey. Jim's playing Andy.
Wow.
And they're having it's real emotional conversations. Andy Kaufman's daughter, who never got to meet him, he gave her up for adoption and couldn't meet him in real life, shows up, and they don't have it on film because I guess they didn't want to show it, didn't want to film it, but basically he said they had a real life conversation, an emotional conversation, Andy was still there. It just really crazy stuff, man, and deep stuff too. If you got it, like I said, it's about 2 hours long. I think I was laying in my bed, but it kept my attention, that's for sure. And it's definitely one of my favorites, and definitely a different kind of movie. It's not your typical. So that's my number 4. So
it's a great pick.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so Mr. Anchorman, you're number 4.
Mine's not so deep. But mine was very fun and entertaining. It was Kong Skull Island.
Oh, there you go. I never did see that one, but I definitely want to see it.
Oh, I really like that movie. And the fact, again, another one of those building into different worlds, how they connected it at the end to Godzilla and
The whole, was it Kingdom of the Monsters?
Mhm. I mean, it was very well done. You know, all the characters in here felt like they belonged. What happened to them, you can see it happening. You were kind of rooting for some of them to happen, and it was. I thought it was very entertaining, and I enjoyed it.
It was a lot
I
of fun.
didn't like it as much as I liked Peter Jackson's Kong, but
Yeah.
but it was still good.
Yeah.
The director, I remember, two things about the director. One, he actually wanted to try to emulate Apocalypse Now in this movie. The second
That's
one,
interesting.
Oh yeah, the second one is the first movie he made was filmed up by Cleveland, Ohio,
Yeah.
and a lot of the Ohio crew actually has his Sundance interview, where he's actually like kind of talking trash about the Ohio crew he worked with. Basically, it's like, oh well, I kind of helped him out. Or it's like, oh yeah, I just let him through. It's like, oh, these guys are just yeah, so
Kind of dissing you guys.
kind
pretty rough.
of like, you know, giving us the cold shoulder. So there's a part of me, I'm watching this movie, I'm like, hey, this is a lot of fun, but this guy can go fuck himself.
You'll have that with some people.
I will. That's talking to me, probably. All right, so moving on to my number 4 on my list, a little higher up, is 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Like you said, it is a roller coaster of acting. The performances are amazing. There's not one bad performance in this. And the other thing I want to bring up is how well the script is written. Like the dialogue
okay.
between them.
Okay.
That scene where Frances McDormand is brought into the jail cell and her and Woody Harrelson have that interrogation scene.
Yeah.
It could have, I mean, in the hands of a lesser writer, that could have been just another run-of-the-mill interrogation scene. But instead, these are two people that actually have respect for each other.
Yeah.
But they both have their own ideals. They both have their own morals.
Mm-hmm.
And they're holding on to that, but they still have that sense of, I don't hate you about them.
No.
And you really get that at the end of the scene.
Very
And
much so,
That's
yes.
what I loved about that. That scene right there is what cemented me with this movie. It's like, this is an amazing film because it just,
Yeah.
it knows its characters. It knows the journey they're on, the arc that they go through, the story it tells. And I think I know what was frustrating to you about the end. Sometimes you don't get closure,
You don't, but
but it's
we'll talk about it in the next podcast.
we'll talk about
I'm
it in the next
holding off.
podcast. But yeah,
yes,
it's
I could agree with you with the scene, and I agree with the acting, obviously.
but oh
so,
my god, Sam Rockwell is amazing, and Woody Harrelson just he's the chief that she's basically like lambasting on the billboard, but she likes him, and he's a good person. It's the officer under him, played by Sam Rockwell, who's kind of the idiot.
and fucked up. Yeah,
He's fucked up everything
Yeah.
he touches.
Yeah.
But it's just I love the director, writer. He did In Bruges with Colin Farrell and Ray Fiennes a couple years ago. That is one of my favorite dark comedies of all time. That's kind of where I took this movie. It's a very dark comedy, and I had a lot of fun with it.
I don't know if I'd call it a dark comedy. It's definitely drama, though, and it is definitely well acted. So I
did
can't
have
take anything
some
away
scenes
from
where I
that.
laughed with the Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe a little bit, but that's more of just out of
It's a dark comedy.
out of sheer everything the woman's been through. But anyway, so
All right. So moving on to number 3.
well, I already gave mine away. Mine was Logan. I think we talked about it, but again, great movie. Really broke open. Not only, I mean, really, I guess Deadpool broke up the rated R, but this is the rated R drama movie, superhero movie.
Serious action.
the break.
Comic book film.
Yeah, this is the groundbreaker as far as I'm concerned for our genre, and what you can do with superhero movies going forward, and that you can have a rated R drama filled superhero movie,
Right.
And it can be absolutely outstanding, and it was. So
it's career highs for everybody involved.
oh,
in that
absolutely,
film,
absolutely,
like from acting to writing and directing.
yeah.
All right, so Mr. Ankerbauer, your number 3 pick of the year is
My number 3 pick is Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
my number one, by the
I
way.
was gonna say, I think we got before we started the show. I already knew what your number one was gonna be.
I knew where his
not
number
me.
one. I knew where his number one was going to be. I knew that was going to land. But for me, this I went and saw it like 5 times in the theater. And every time I saw it, it just got that much better watching it. It was fun. There was only, obviously there was the bad parts about it, but the good well outweighed, and how fun it was in the theater, and
Absolutely.
get the goosebumps when you're watching. That doesn't happen very often in movies where you get the goosebumps, and for some reason Star Wars does that in certain scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's why it's at number 3 on mine. But I got 2 other ones that are
I'll say
a little
this.
bit better for me.
I understood.
The Last Jedi is a movie that I wish I could have more spots on my top 10 list, just so I can put that movie on there. I think that is a movie that, for as much like negative feedback that it's been getting from some people who call themselves diehard fans,
Well, they are. I understand where they're coming from, but yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, honestly, watching this movie, I get the feeling it's going to be as well thought of as The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah.
About a decade down the road when
If-
everybody looks
yes.
past it. I mean, yes, like you said, there's moments in there. I'm just going to call it the Princess Leia shooting stars moment.
We call it the Harry Potter scene, but yeah.
yes. Minus that, it is. I'm going to save my pure thoughts until we get to the number one. But yes, it is groundbreaking again. It changes the mold for Star Wars movies in general.
For all the stuff that it does, for all the essentially for all the cliches it could have fallen prey to, it very wisely avoided them, and I
Yes.
like that. Because fans had expectations, it found a way to defy expectations.
Yes, it did, and
I mean, even though
exceed them.
it may have betrayed what they wanted to be canon. Sorry, this is what good drama and symbolism is.
Well, yeah,
So.
yeah. Can't argue with it. So
All right, my number 3 pick for the best films of 2017 is Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. An amazing, it's just one of those movies that you go into it. I mean, it's like a Del Toro film. It's the perfect Del Toro film. You go into it, you're like, I think I'm going to see this, and it finds some way to romantically sweep you up. Not just for the fact that it's a romance, but just the fact that he loves the world of monsters. Not just, the grotesque, but also the psychological. Like, you have, of course, the Gil Man, or as Aaron has actually pointed out when we actually were talking about it in Star Wars, the unofficial prequel to Hellboy. Or it's the Abe Sapien story.
correct me if I'm wrong, but if I know the story right, this was actually a story treatment he had when he was in the Dark World, and they turned him down, and then he
Yes,
went out and took that
it was.
same story and turned it into a Fox Searchlight picture.
He
Correct?
originally wanted to do the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie,
Yeah.
and honestly, he should have been the person to kick off, Universal's Dark Universe. Like, The Mummy clearly was a misstep, but it should have been Del Toro making Creature from the Black Lagoon or something like that,
Yeah.
because what he did with this movie is he made it a movie about flaws and the stuff that we think are things we don't want people to see or we are ashamed of, but just the fact that finding someone you connect with that doesn't see those flaws is what true beauty in the world is. And that's the thing, is this man really embraces the beauty of the world, and that's what this movie is. Just, it's a love letter to all things beautiful.
Interesting. So I'll have to put it on my list. Definitely, I probably won't see it in the theater. I'm sure it's out of theaters by now.
Oh no, it's going to be through the whole award season.
The award
I guarantee
season.
it's-
Yeah,
might win.
I'll probably hold off, but still, I definitely put it on my list to see it. It's got enough there to at least spark my interest anyway. The fact that they even turned down that kind of story is interesting to me into itself. So,
Well, hindsight's always 20/20.
exactly. Right.
Well, that they wanted to connect. They wanted to connect, so they needed that connector. So they thought that having Tom Cruise would be that connector to go through all the movies. So they couldn't very well start off.
I thought it was going to be Russell Crowe. That was going to be the tie-in through all of them.
No,
You would think the way they did
the way
it
they
with Mummy.
kind of played it up, but
Yeah.
no, it was going to be Tom Cruise to tie them through all together. But
Clearly, the world was not ready for a Tom Cruise-led franchise.
I guess not, except Mission Impossible.
Yeah, hell yeah, there you go. All right, Mr.
So we're moving on to number 2. Do you want to take it over?
Yeah, I'll go.
go
Before we get to number 2, I'll just briefly mention my honorable mentions.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I wanted to start off with those, but I completely forgot. Justice League.
Okay.
Really like seeing the Justice League on screen. I mean, the fact that we got to see them on screen was just
Finally got there.
yes.
Yeah.
Regardless of how crappy some of the scenes were
Mhm.
and some of the CGI. Besides that,
Mhm.
it was awesome to see them on screen.
Okay.
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes, that was a good one. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I
one.
enjoyed that one as
Still
well.
need to see that one.
American Assassin.
Mhm.
Didn't get a lot of pop on it, but it was really good. Like I really like watching that movie. You know, was rooting for him and everything else, and it's like it was actually a halfway decent movie. So I put that on my honorable mention list. But my number 2 is another DC movie,
Okay.
Wonder Woman.
It's my number 2 as well. Good, great minds think alike.
Yeah,
Yep.
Wonder Woman was definitely up there. And it's not just because it was a DC character. I mean, part of the reason was, and it was actually a good movie.
It was a well-made movie.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
the first well-made DC
yeah,
movie in years.
Patty Jenkins put this movie just. It was like, oh my gosh.
It flowed
And-
really well.
Yeah, and you know the costume design and everything else. You felt like you were there, and you see her develop, and you see her issues with man and how they cross over. And I think what helped with this one was the fact it was based in a different time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it
there-
was
so
the
there
World
was-
War One era.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of the accuracy issues of dealing with certain things in different times, and you know, because when you're watching a movie about a time that happened before, you don't have firsthand experiences of it,
Yeah, we were all
right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but when you have a movie that's playing today, you watch it and you're like, well, that's not right. Well, that's not right. Well, that's not right. You know, but with Wonder Woman, basing it in the past helped with that tremendously.
The neat thing, the thing I actually want to mention that, like the setting that I thought was kind of cool. In the comics, when Wonder Woman was first introduced, they brought her in during World War II, which was what brought the Amazons off the island, was the fact that it's the whole world essentially coming together for what everyone felt like was the end of the world. The Great War, or as we all know now, World War One, the Great War was the first time the whole world collectively felt that the end times were there. So that's the perfect setting to draw her out. Not World War II so much, but World War One. I'm glad they actually did that setting.
Yeah, you know, and when you think about it, out of all the DC characters, the potential for there not to be a good movie, it would be with
Failed pilots.
well, would be with Wonder Woman. I mean, they had one TV, had a campy TV series back in the day, but other than
They
that,
even had a movie before that too.
yeah, and the movie
The TV movie before that.
But if anything had the potential for disaster, if you would ask me when they first started this whole DC thing, I would have said, well, Wonder Woman's probably, if they do a Wonder Woman standalone, it's probably got I don't think they'll pull it off. You know, and that's where I would have started before we saw what happened. And the way that Patty Jenkins took this story, developed it, shown it. My daughter loves this movie. It's a great movie, you know, in general. Not to pull the whole girl power thing, 'cause I don't want to overstate that, but because I think it's overstated big time. But other than that, I will tell you though, it is a great movie, and it's a great movie to take your little girl to.
You know, funny enough, that's technically my daughter's first movie in the theater, because one day I just went there just because she wanted popcorn. I was like, you know what, just get some movie theater popcorn. And I saw the manager there. I was like, hey, do you mind if I take her in there? So she actually got to watch that origin scene where she's a kid and she's watching the fights and seeing all that, and she's just like enamored watching the big screen, and she's heard of Wonder Woman, she's seeing it, and it's the reverence and like the just how much care is put into that story.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
is.
both said, Patty Jenkins, that is exactly the way that this story needed to be told. And like you said, it's, you know, we can take our daughters to it, and they have an actual hero, which I gotta say, that movie had probably one of the most heroic scenes in a movie. Like, since I've been to the theater, we've seen a lot of movies with heroes. This is the first time I've seen one of them do something heroic. Her scene in the No Man's Land, that's the first time, like, we've actually seen a character on screen say, I see something wrong, I want to make it right. And that to me was like, just, that's what made this movie so good, was it was a hero that just wanted to do good.
Sure. And they deal with the whole theme of love too, and they do it in in a warlike manner, honestly, and to see if and honestly to see a female in that like, again, I don't want to overstate it because I feel like it's a Hollywood talk point anymore, but it is a very good movie for women in general. And as far as taking your daughters to see it, it's perfect, and I loved it. She loved it, and I could see why. It's just really well done.
Considering everything that's come out about the star from this film recently and what we were just talking about there, I don't want to say I'm ashamed to put it, but I think it's a weird segue. My number 2 film is James Franco's The Disaster Artist.
I've seen previews for this, but that's about it.
I love this movie to no end. When I saw it, it probably had one of my best experiences in a movie theater seeing it. Like, I saw it I had just gotten through being a Best Boy Grip on a movie, and I went to see it with the guy that was Best Boy Electric. Him and I had been like good friends. We were both fans of The Room. We both saw the trailers. We were like, and he actually we both worked with James Franco before, and we saw this and we're like, hey, this looks pretty good. Let's go check it out. And we checked it out, and so him and I are watching. We're watching the story about these two guys, two dreamers. And that's what I think what I love. I mean, the two aspects that I love so much about the movie. It's about two dreamers that, they move to LA. They want to be successful. They want to hit it big in the industry. They want to tell everybody the people that break new ground are the ones that take chances. They took a chance. They didn't know what ground they were breaking with this movie. It's fascinating to watch because it's based off a book about people that had firsthand account of watching this movie being made on set. And that's the second part that was a lot of fun. It was like him and I, who had just been on set, watching this just kind of like on-set demeanor of like everything going on between the scenes, just going,
well, that probably,
what the hell are these people doing?
So it definitely hit home for you because
it really hit home for
that's
me.
Your job. I mean,
it's my job, but
yeah.
It's also, it hit home to me because again, it's the story about people wanting to make it big and wanting to tell a story and wanting to do something new and get their voice out there. But it's also a great story, and I think it's a great companion piece to like Johnny Depp's Ed Wood. When you want to get your voice out there, but you don't know what rules can be broken or bent. In this case, get permits. Don't treat your actors like crap. Don't try to be such a artiste on set all the time.
Right.
It's just the journey that you watch this movie, kind of like, oh, it's going to be a 20-day shoot. And like at the end of the movie, you're watching day 67. And these crew members are like cashing checks going, holy shit, that actually went through?
There's still a budget? What happened?
It was so much fun to watch this movie. I really recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I laughed out loud a lot more than I have in a movie theater lately, and it was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
sounds like fun.
I saw that one. And I didn't get the same feeling from it. Of course, I didn't see The Room.
Oh, I really recommend The Room.
Yeah, so I didn't see The Room, but watching it, like at the end of the movie, you get to see the clips next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So then it kind of makes a little more sense. But as I was watching it, not ever being on set and watching all the stuff and getting the jokes and stuff like you did and your friend did, the whole movie, I just sat there and I was like, what is going on here? Like, is he gonna lose that accent here eventually? What is
no, that was
well, no. At the end, you find out that's what's going on, but the whole time you're like, this is so dumb. This is so stupid. That's the way I watched almost the entire movie. But at the end, seeing the scenes next to each other, it did make more sense why we saw the other stuff, because while you're watching, you're like, what the fuck? Why does that even fit in this movie? Like, what the fuck is this?
Why is there a drug deal scene? Why do you suddenly have breast cancer and then disappear?
Yes.
That's the movie. Seriously,
right.
this all happens.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, so you're watching, you're like, that's just stupid. What the fuck is this? And then he shoots himself in the head, and then he talks.
He's writhing on the ground.
like what? This is so dumb. Like that's what. And it was like, this is so stupid. Like just watching the whole thing, and then at the end you're watching, you're like, oh well, I guess that was part of the other movie because you're watching the scenes next to each other, and you're like, well, I can see why they did that, but still, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, no, seriously, watch The Room. You will feel that the entire time
Yeah.
watching the movie. That The Room is, to this generation, what the Rocky Horror Picture Show was when it first came out, and also what Plan 9 from Outer Space was when it first came out. This is our generation's defining. This is our truly awful film that we
Right.
all
Well,
have. This
you
is
know-
the Birdemic and The Room.
It was funny because you're watching this whole thing take place and you're like, oh my god, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Like, this is horrible. And I laughed at there were several scenes that I laughed at. When he couldn't remember his line, he was coming out and everything else, and he's like, "You have a water bottle, use it." And he walks out of the thing, throws it down, and gets his line. They're like, "That worked." Like, and then you watch the actual scene, and it's
I
almost
did not hit that.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, and it's just like what the fuck? But then when you see the two clips together,
Then you see the genius behind it.
then you can see you're like, wow, I can really see why James Franco won the award.
The Golden Globe.
Yeah,
he won.
I mean, I can really. He nailed it.
I am no. He's lost in that performance. I mean, it's one of those performances. Like when I watch James Franco, sometimes I can see James Franco. I've actually had a friend that actually interviewed Tommy Wiseau before. That is his real voice. That is his real demeanor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
Franco nails it. But
Yeah.
it never once feels like it's like poking fun at the guy, or it actually just feels like it's him just actually trying to live the guy's life.
Yeah,
I recommend if you check out The Room.
I would say I probably would have got a lot more of it if I watched The Room, or had been on seen behind the scenes stuff, and you're like, oh, I can totally see that happening. Oh, I've seen that happen. I probably would have. I don't know if I'd have put it at my top 10 list, but I can see why you would put it up there because he was really good acting. Like, he did a superb job, and like when you see the two scenes next to each other, you're like you're watching, you're like,
Yeah.
they're almost in sync.
I mean, the pacing. I mean, Franco also directed this too.
Yeah.
So he nailed the timing, the blocking, the pacing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, The Room is such an encapsulation of such weird blocking, pacing, and timing that to nail that just right is a special blend of genius.
Well, this sounds like the movie maker's kind of movie, really. I mean, is what it sounds
yeah,
like. So
it really is.
yeah. All right, John.
All right, so Mr. Willenbrink, would you like?
Yes.
Well, I think we've already talked about.
We've
your number one film
established
already,
it,
so-
but I will give my thoughts on The Last Jedi, as I've been holding back ever so graciously. No, The Last Jedi is
Okay, so we'll go with mine.
you have a time limit.
I'm trying. All right,
We'll keep it under.
I'll do my best. Now, for me, Last Jedi is the groundbreaker. It will be looked back upon like Empire Strikes Back. I really do believe that at some point. Once people get over the heartbreak, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but we all know what happens and why people feel that way. In fact, I'm still working out in my head another podcast just to talk about what happened and why people feel the way they feel about it. Why certain people do, and I get it because I kind of felt it too. I kind of went, and the first time I watched it. And the second time I watched it, I got a lot better once I accepted that. But anyway, it changed the perception of everything. It took everything that we thought it was going to be and it turned it on its head, which was not a bad thing, though. It was actually a better thing. We got
respectable.
It was not only was it respectable, but we got a much better movie out of it as a result. And I think that's what some people are losing in translation. Is we actually did get a much better movie than we were expecting to get because it turned it on its head. Because they took certain theories that we thought, a certain character, a certain bad character we thought, and he was the MacGuffin in the whole damn thing. He was nobody. He was what he was, and that's
he
it.
served his purpose.
He served his
That's it.
purpose.
And it's funny because when we see the third one and we watch how the second one ties the two together, and you'd be like, oh, well, that totally makes more sense because like we do with Empire, we see how it ties.
Right,
New Hope
and
with Return of the Jedi.
And honestly, I don't want to be J.J. Abrams right now because I think that's going to be the hardest damn screenplay to write in the history of movies.
Not really. So what's going to happen is Luke will wake up on an island looking at an airplane flying across the...
Spoiler alert. No,
Lost. It was all the dream.
Ryan Johnson basically took all the questions that Abrams presented, threw them out to actually make a story. So Abrams is now going to retcon all this.
Well, in some ways, some of that, yeah. I mean, he took not only did he
which I would
take
not like. If
not only did he take risk, he took some serious fucking risk. That guy's
That
guy has some serious balls. Honestly, when you think about the the universe that he's playing in, and the people that he's playing with, and the characters he's playing with, and how he did what he did, and just the guy has got serious balls, and I think it's going to pay off brilliantly. Again, we won't be able to fully judge this one until 9 comes out, but that being said, on its own, yes, I think looking back at it, John, I think you hit it right on its head. I think it's going to be up there with Empire. Will it beat Empire in my heart? Absolutely not, because it would take something.
It might take another 10 years.
It would take another. In my heart, nothing will ever beat Empire. I love Empire. I love how.
Ironically, it's also my favorite too.
But that being said, yes, I do believe that this is groundbreaking for Star Wars. It is definitely a game changer for Star Wars, and but I think it left Star Wars in a better place. A lot of people think it does, and I think it does. So, as overall for the story as a whole moving forward, it does. So, with that in mind, that's why it's my best movie of the year. So.
All right, so Mr. Ankerbauer, your number one pick for the best movie of 2017 is
Jumanji.
Really?
Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah, like surprisingly. I
was surprisingly good.
Holy crap, was that surprisingly good?
I do really want to see it. I heard it's a lot of fun.
I went in with zero expectations of it. Mm-hmm. It was one of those like, hey, what do you want to do? Let's go to the movies. Okay, what's playing?
Yeah.
Jumanji's playing. We'll go see that. Yeah. You know, at the time it was a toss-up. My daughter's only 12, so it was a toss-up. What do you want to see? You want to see that, or you want to see Pitch Perfect 3? That's where
you made a better choice.
And that's where it was. And you know, we've seen all those stuff. What do you want to see? And we chose Jumanji because it was playing at an earlier time than Pitch Perfect 3, and we didn't have to drive all the way to Newport. You know, it's closer. And we go into the movie and come out of it, and I'm like, wow.
I was surprisingly entertained.
That was actually really good.
Yeah.
And like you see the trailers and everything else, but everybody kind of stayed in their. Nobody outperformed anybody else, and they worked really well together. Mm-hmm. The villain, but they really didn't need a villain because the game is kind of the villain,
right?
But they were really funny, and I mean they've already started. They said they're working on a second one, but I mean with the amount of money it's making, it'd be hard to not see them try to make a second one.
Right.
I don't know if they can reproduce what they did with this one without having the same characters in it.
Right.
But like Jack Black,
hilarious,
freaking hilarious,
very much so.
The Rock.
Probably Jack Black's best performance in a while, to be honest.
Oh, it was definitely one of his best in a while.
Probably since Tropic Thunder was probably the last time I saw him that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it was done in a much more clean way, too. So.
Yeah. I really, like I said, it's number one for me because I think it's partially because I went in with such low expectations and it just kind of blew them away.
Yeah,
that's probably why Justice League's not on my worst of the year list.
But I did too. I went in with incredibly low expectations, and it was just a fun movie. It was like, yeah, you can take your kids to it. We did take our kids to it. You and I, we all went. Me and my daughter and your daughter, we all went together. It was a good time. It was just a really good time, and it was a good movie.
I can't wait for the day when I can actually take my daughter to the movies.
It's coming.
It's gonna make my social life or my favorite pastime so much easier.
I did have one honorable mention, and I almost made it number 6, but I said nah. I told you guys I'd stick to 5. I did also like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That would, if I had a 6, that probably would have been. So I really like that movie.
You did actually see 10 movies.
I did.
So you could have put in Jumanji and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Could.
And
so if your number 5 is also going to make your worst of the year, does that mean that Guardians of the Galaxy and Jumanji are going to make your worst?
No, just billboards.
We'll get to that.
We will get to that next
All
podcast.
Right. So
next show, I should say now.
So going on with my best film of 2017, as you guys know me, I love horror films. I love suspense. I love psychological stuff. I love symbolic stuff. I mean, we've talked about how I think metaphors in movies work, how I think, topics can be tackled. That in mind, my best movie of the year is Jordan Peele's Get Out. I fucking adore everything about this movie. The fact that it costs so little money to make. Like I've seen movies that have been made on the budget that this film has had. You might see that in our next podcast. Like the budgets that have been made on this have been done to worse extent. But just the clear vision he had from the opening scene to the end scene to his story to everything he wanted to put into it. There is not one frame of this movie that does not have some sense of symbolism, of meaning, of metaphor, of something going on in it. It is incredibly complex to watch. There's stuff in there that is so rewarding. The performances are great. The cast works so well off each other. The suspense when it comes, there's some like devout horror fanatics that have watched it and thought, oh, well, it's not that scary. It's not that scary. It's like it's not meant to be the roller coaster of scary. It's meant
It's a
to
comedy.
Yeah, they also nominated for comedic picture, which we'll get into that Golden Globes, but
Okay.
it is so rewarding. Like I saw it, I loved it. I loved just how much effort it put into it. And then I saw it again for a second time, and you know my wife, she does not do scary films.
Right.
She loves this movie.
Really?
Like, she was scared, but it was for her it was like watching Stranger Things. Like I'm scared, but I love watching this movie. And watching it a second time, I'm watching so many other little details, like hats and colors of vehicles and costume choices and set dressing and props. Every little aspect that can be used in a film, in a $4 million film, is used to its utmost brilliant potential. It is suspenseful, it is well told, it is just, it's timely, its use of metaphors as, like the racial metaphors that this movie takes is so well done. It's my best film of the year. It's going to be remembered down the road. It's going to be one that when you look at more, it's very rewarding. I can't heap enough praises. I can't heap enough praises on this movie.
Sounds like it. I definitely am. I'm not a horror guy, but you might have talked me into it.
It's a really good one.
All right.
All right. So with that in mind, that brings us to an end. These are our 10 best movies of the year. I guess how do we normally sign off? You're usually our host.
Just thank us for being here, and we'll head on out, I guess.
All right. I thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
Peace.
Later.